It's your fault. Are you kidding me? Look what you've done, you idiot! Your fault. Your fault.
I'm doing it manually. You put on the scissors manually. This is the opposite thing. Right, first try. First try. Yeah. No.
And right now he's having a seizure.
What the heck? Nintendo. Nintendo was a huge focal point of my childhood. I used to spend the majority of my time every day being sucked into my Nintendo 64, or my GameCube, or my Nintendo DS, or even my Nintendo Wii, to the point where it was an obsession. It was how I entertained myself. It was my escapism from reality, and I can't imagine the person I'd be right now without it. Super Mario, The Legend of Zelda, Super Smash Bros, Star Fox, the list goes on and on. Sure, now most people think Nintendo is just for little kids, like probably the majority of you watching think I'm an idiot right now, but I always saw them as family-oriented games that anyone can play for the most part. That's like saying Pixar sucks because their movies are just for little kids. They aren't. They're so much more than just for little kids. I still play Nintendo games all the time. I mean, you can insult me all you want, but they are a big part of me as a person. I used to love these games and I still do. Obviously, they're not always perfect, but I still enjoy playing their games all the time. I'm a huge fan. And during my childhood, one of my other favorite things was films and stories. I used to make random videos on my channel promoting Nintendo games just because I liked them a lot. I always wanted a good film adaptation to be made from Nintendo games, like a Super Mario movie that isn't this. I can't count the amount of times my brother and I talked about our ideas for a Lord of the Rings style Legend of Zelda film franchise. For some reason, we never got films about these iconic characters, except for one on the internet. I discovered the Rejalvarez channel and their series called Stupid Mario Bros. When I was younger. You may remember me talking about this in my Tom Grimm video, which is a series I made that was basically a ripoff of this series.
Now I don't think
Who told you to think? I don't give you enough information to think.
Who told you to think? I didn't give you enough information to think!
The series started off as these goofy, low-quality amateur shorts where Mario and Luigi just goof around for 3 minutes. At first I thought it was dumb and stopped watching, but later on I decided to continue through it. For a while it was just dumb fun. Dumb, low-quality, amateur fun. And even though it was low quality, the characters were so well realized and so fleshed out. The humor was really crude at times, and it was really interesting seeing Mario and Luigi going through crude humor, and there was fourth wall breaks and random parody comedy that was really clever and charming. That's what kept me going with it, and I continued through, and soon the show started getting a lot more serious, and it started having this insane, epic, complicated story, and I was actually riveted by it. It was a perfect blend of goofy comedy and actual good drama. The show blew me away when I was young, and like I've mentioned before, it made me want to create my own stuff on YouTube. I wanted to be Rich Alvarez. I grew up watching this channel and this series. There's a lot more on the channel than just Stupid Mario Bros, and it had a huge nostalgic connection with me. Through this channel, I actually met my best friend Jackson Fulcher, who's on this channel all the time. He made a video review of one of the films by the Rich Alvarez channel, and he didn't really like it, and then I commented on it saying I did like it at the time, I don't like it now, but I commented on it saying, hey, I just wanted to talk to you about why I like this, and then we both started talking from there, and now he's like my best friend, and he changed my life completely. However, the reason I'm talking about this channel is not just because it has a connection with me, but also because it's been going for so long. The stuff on this channel ranges from amazing content to completely terrible content. There's so much to talk about with this channel, and I wanted to make something about a bunch of the stuff they've done over the years, and how they affected me so much growing up. I'm gonna talk about what I recommend and what I don't recommend. Richie, if you're watching this, I have a lot to thank you for, and you were unknowingly a huge part of my life. But I'm going to be honest about everything I'm talking about. If I go over something I dislike, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The channel has honestly gone through a huge downfall, not only in popularity, but also artistically, and I'm going to talk about my opinions on all of it. Alright, let's go on this big adventure. Before I begin, I'd just like to mention that literally while I was in the early stages of planning this video, I came across a very similar video to the one I was planning made by a guy named Monkey Jones. I couldn't believe how similar it was to the video I was planning. It's immensely well done. He was able to get in touch with certain cast members and they revealed very scandalous things about the channel and the people running it, so I'd recommend checking it out for that factor. I'm mainly talking about how it's fallen off in popularity and it's fallen off artistically, and I wanted to address Monkey's video because I wanted to mention how similar it was to my video and how great it was. I highly recommend checking out that video once you're done with this one. I thought after that video was made, I'd still throw my hat into the ring despite how similar these videos may be. So without further ado, let's get started on this channel that completely kind of changed my life.
Stupid Mario Brothers! It's time to get to the mail, Luigi. I hope we don't get the same old crap we get every day.
The Retavers channel at first was basically just a few friends making videos for fun. They just made a bunch of goofy videos on their own, and the channel didn't really have any popularity until their Stupid Mario Bros. Series began. Richie, Chris, and Matt, who play Mario, Luigi, and Wario, basically just decided they wanted to make a fun video for fun with their Halloween costumes from last year, and that was basically all it was, and then it blew up to unexpected popularity.
Let's go look for some soup and mushrooms! Okie dokie!
Richie actually thought that the video was so dumb that he named the series Stupid Mario Bros. Even though it was originally supposed to be called Super Teenage Mario Bros. It got unexpected huge fame and spawned a whole first season full of 15 episodes. They were like, we gotta make more of these because this is an unexpected hit. Most of the season is basically just the characters of Mario and Luigi in the real world attempting to adjust to normal human life because they came from the Mushroom Kingdom and then they came into this real world and they have to adjust to everything that's in normal life. The name of the show is certainly really fitting because it captures this season in particular remarkably well. The creators are 100% aware that the show they're making is dumb, so they just go for the ridiculousness.
Well, what do you want to do now, Mario? Want to go start a rock band? Okay.
If I had to compare this to some other show, I'd probably say SpongeBob. The writing and humor is designed to baffle you with how ridiculous and weird it can be, and Season 1 of Stupid Mario Bros. Has a similar feel to me. They break the fourth wall constantly and they reference the video games that they're a part of. It's all a bunch of wacky, ridiculous shenanigans.
Should Mario and Luigi open the box?
Oh no, I thought I got rid of you, narrator.
Nope, I'm here to stay.
Stupid son of a Goomba, get out of my head! Mario!
Obviously the production clearly isn't up to par, but to me that was the charm of the entire show. The fact that this was just some high school friends making a fun, ridiculous show in a backyard always inspired me because I felt like if they could do it, I could too. The creators know it's amateur and they know it's ridiculous and dumb, so they just go with it.
Oh, wait. Mamma mia!
I could understand if someone thought this season was awful, but I enjoy it personally. The characters are pretty minimal in this season too, and they all work. Rich Alvarez as Mario, Chris Muller as Luigi, Matt Provenzel as Wario, Doug Orofino as Waluigi, and Dane Cook as Ash Ketchum all became staples of this series. Matt Provenzel in particular, I've always admired a lot. He's probably my favorite cast member in the whole channel. The end of the season is when it starts having a bigger overarching story, and they even have a huge final battle with frickin' lightsabers and fireballs, and it's actually really impressive still to this day. There's tons of planning and effort and choreography and editing that went into it, and it's such a welcome addition to the series. It became a fan favorite addition and it keeps returning throughout the whole channel. They keep doing these lightsaber battles and it continuously gets better as they keep making them. Maybe I still have nostalgia glasses on when I watch this season, but it still is really fun to me. It's dumb and amusing and that's really all it is. The show didn't blow me away until season 2 though. That's where things got really great. Season 2, like I said, is where things started getting really good. Not only did we get a handful of some really great characters like Link and Nox Decius and Scott Masterson, but we also got a really great overarching story that'll last throughout tons of the show. There's some legitimate drama and lore building in this season, and it's actually really interesting. It sounds like the dumbest thing ever, but it actually makes the show better. Now that you've seen Mario and Luigi trying to adjust to the real world for 15 episodes, we get to know the characters and we get to be emotionally invested in the adventure they're going on. And it actually works. They strike a really good balance between comedy and drama, and there's tons of ridiculous, crazy comedic episodes. You actually start to feel tension for the characters, and you're in a cliffhanger every week wanting to see what'll happen next. They'll have an episode where Wario has a super dramatic character moment.
We could have destroyed the Mario Bros, but you wanted to play soccer. I wanted to ruin their reputation, but you just wanted to steal their instruments. When we should have been planning, you were busy making out with Wild Goomba! That's Wild Gina to you! I don't care about you! I don't care about your girlfriend! I don't care about us!
I thought we were supposed to be friends, Wario.
Well, then you thought wrong.
And then next thing you'll know, they'll have some goofy episode where they have to deal with a band manager with anger issues.
Hey guys, you're supposed to be on 10 minutes ago.
What's going on?! So what are you gonna do about this, Luigi? We only have 30 minutes left before the concert!
There must be someone I can get!
It doesn't feel out of place either. It has a story-driven plot, but it still had that lovable, goofy humor from the first season that everyone loved. They even started forming this fictional lore around the Mario Brothers and their origins. It's kind of crazy. It was like the fun first season, but with a whole new element that made it even better. Season 3, I think, might be my favorite of all the seasons. It did similar stuff to Season 2, but made the story even more interesting, and it was even darker and more tension-filled. There's still tons of goofy stuff and goofy scenes in the mix with really good drama.
Luigi, your hair's different!
End of Act 1. Intermission.
Pokemon! Only 472 more Pokemon before I can finally catch them all! Yeah, Gyarados.
End of intermission. Act 2. Later that day in a different place.
Solid Snake was a new character and he was tons of fun. He's really overly serious and he has to interact with all these goofy people. Plus he doesn't know anything about real life scenarios, and watching him adjust to that is always really funny. The character is always funny because of how overly serious he is in every situation. Matt Provenzel as Wario in this season was also pretty phenomenal. In this season he goes through a struggle between good and evil, and it's really interesting and well done. It reminded me of a character like Prince Zuko from Avatar The Last Airbender or Kylo Ren from the new Star Wars movies. He's completely nuts in this season, and it's genuinely concerning and dark seeing such a fun character get all dark and psychopathy. The final beam sword battle is really well done as well, and it's known that Richie spent entire days and nights working on it to the point where he was putting himself through physical and mental pain. That's the kind of stuff I respect. He wasn't just doing this series because he needed money. It's clear passion and effort for what you're doing, and it's very admirable seeing it coming from him. Season 3 then ends on a cliffhanger leading you into the Stupid Mario Bros. Movie, which was the next part in the franchise.
What do you say we go to Taco Lax, Wario?
Sounds a good one, Luigi.
I really love this movie, and I think it's my favorite thing from the entire Stupid Mario Bros. Saga. The first half is basically like Season 1 again, and it's back to the lighthearted, loosely connected goofiness that we remembered. But the second half of the show represented the story-driven, serious parts of the show.
Well, what do you want to do now, Mario?
Want to make a Stupid Mario Brothers movie?
Okie dokie!
I don't know. The end?
And the end you shall have.
What? Who are you? You're not Mario?
No, I am not him. I simply took the form of him so that I could come into this world.
What are you?
In the darkness lies the truth. You've heard this, yes?
The old Gerudo myth?
Not a myth, my friend. I am the darkness.
Impossible. You can't be.
I don't need to explain myself any further. It's not going to do you any good, seeing as you are about to die.
We have the new character, the Darkness, who is everyone's favorite character that Richie himself created. He's clearly inspired by Mark Hamill's Joker, and he's genuinely pretty terrifying.
Ah, the joy of murder. It's like a child who's just discovered how to kill an insect for the first time. But alas, it's never as good as the first time.
His origin story with Nox Decius is insane, and he poses a huge threat to the characters. He literally kills off several huge characters in this movie, and the entire thing feels so hopeless and tragic. And you constantly care. You're not laughing because they're doing serious stuff, you actually buy it. The beam sword fights in this movie are the ones I remember the most that they've ever put out throughout the entirety of the channel. A lot of the second half of the movie has an Empire Strikes Back feel, where everyone's failing and it feels utterly hopeless, so you're constantly on the edge of your seat while you're watching it. This movie was originally meant to be the finale of the entire show, and they would conclude it on a high note while moving on to other things like an independent feature-length film, but fans kept demanding more, and they brought the show back because of popular demand. But before we get to that, let's take a slight detour to the other content of their channel, because like I said, there's more to it than just stupid Mario. I love some of the other stuff on this channel, and no one ever talks about anything other than Stupid Mario Bros. When this channel comes up. Of course, there's more Stupid Mario related spin-off shorts that aren't connected to the main story, but I'm talking about the YouTube news series, or the Harry Potter videos, or the one-off sketches. The one-off sketches usually feature the actors playing themselves, Richie as Richie, Chris as Chris, Matt as Matt, etc. But they're playing exaggerated versions of themselves. Richie, especially back then, was known as cynical and grumpy in a likable way. Even in videos where he was just being himself, that's how he would act, in like Q&As and stuff like that. It's very charming.
Well, that was disappointing.
Like your face.
You know, Richie, you've been in a bad mood the whole episode.
Was there ever an episode where I was in a good mood? I mean, I'm in a perpetual bad mood, Matt. That's what makes me such a lovable character.
Good point. I shall never question you again.
Constantly in these sketches, Richie is a jerk to everyone else and acts like he hates everything, and this continues throughout their sketches all the way to about 2013. Chris is known as more awkward and cringy, and throughout the sketches he's constantly made fun of, especially by Richie.
Words cannot express my fear for weather with Chris. Chris, how's the weather? It's a bit chilly out, but without beans. I really wish I wasn't here.
Matt Provincial essentially just plays the goofy guy because that's exactly what Matt is.
Yeah, I remember that. I had nightmares for a week. Okay, it was 6 months, jeez! I had to go to therapy too, I'm a fragile person, get over it.
The people that run this channel essentially became characters, which were exaggerated versions of themselves made for comedy. So each member of the cast of Stupid Mario Bros. And the people that run the show become very treasured and valued, and the fans start to really like them. YouTube News is basically what this is. Richie, Chris, and Matt being their exaggerated selves and going on huge rants about pop culture topics regarding movies or video games, and sometimes it won't even be that. It'll just be them doing complete nonsense. It was a super fun sideshow that unfortunately never performed as well as it could have. Later on in 2014, they lost all sense of what the show should be and turned it into a 2-minute boring commercial for a product that had nothing to do with what made the show great. But from the old days to 2013, it was a super fun show that I really like. Some of my favorite one-off sketches from back in the day would be the Rich Alvarez Christmas Party, the Christmas Carol, and A Day in the Life of Rich Alvarez. Really brilliant stuff. The sketches saw a huge resurgence in 2013, but I'll get to that later. Let's get back to Stupid Mario. So like I mentioned earlier, Stupid Mario Bros. Originally was meant to end with the movie, and that was supposed to be the ultimate finale while they moved on to other things. But after fan demand, they decided to continue the show for 2 more seasons with a new big story. Before we got the regular Stupid Mario episodes though, we got Operation Blindstorm, which was a 16-minute special extra long episode that promised the continuation of the series. And honestly, it's pretty boring, unfortunately. There's some interesting ideas and some fun moments, but the whole thing felt overly long and not a lot of the comedic writing really hit at all. They needed a way to fill up the runtime to warrant this as a special, so they decided to have a whole big subplot around Mario and Luigi creating a new music video with a new band manager played by Dane Cook in one of his final roles on the channel. This whole thing feels completely pointless and uneventful, and every time I went through this plot, it felt like such a chore. The creators act like this episode is one of the most essential episodes of all of Stupid Mario, but it feels more like you could completely skip over it and not miss much of anything. You could fill in the gaps as the show started up again. I did like the final scene though.
My Pokeball stopped working!
But Ash, your Pokeballs never worked.
Oh yeah.
Ah! My fireballs don't work!
Oh no!
What?
My Pokemon games don't work anymore!
You don't have a game cartridge, and stupid!
Yay, the powers are back!
That was the last scene that featured the Ash Ketchum character, who was a fan favorite. Dane Cook, the actor, and Richie had a falling out after that, which is something that was pretty controversial for a while, with no clear answer for so long, so many years. They never gave a clear answer for this. Mumkey Jones covered it really well in his video, so there's not much that I would discuss that would bring anything new to the table. Dane was a huge actor on the channel, and he was also the primary cinematographer, so it was definitely a big loss because he was a big part of what they did. After Operation Blindstorm, we continued on to another big special, which is the Interactive Adventure, also known as the Stupid Mario Bros. Quest for Rent. I'm gonna be honest, I really like this one. There's a lot of people that say they don't like this one, but I honestly really like it. There's a few small jokes towards the beginning with Snake that don't really work, but other than that, it's really fun stuff. Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Snake all have some sort of mission that they're on to gain money, and they all end up on some sort of crazy adventure that's separate from one another. My favorite plot would have to be Mario's. He's known as a fun-loving cartoon character for children in the games, yet in this show Mario's way more crude, so they just go crazy with him and he completely breaks the law to get his money. I know some people weren't a fan of that, but I thought it was hilarious. You really can watch this special without having seen any other Stupid Mario Bros. Episode. It's a super fun series of craziness, and honestly, if I were to recommend this show to somebody, I'd say this might be one of the first ones that you could watch, and then you could go back to the beginning and go through it all. After the Quest for Rent, Season 4 started up finally after 2 years, and this is when the show started getting downhill for most people, and I can somewhat agree with that. The first 9 episodes of the season, for me, are actually tons of fun and really well done. They get a lot of hate, but I have a lot of fun with them. The episodes are a lot longer, which will prove to be a misstep later on, but for these first 9 episodes, I thought it worked really well. The show kind of feels like a Nintendo sitcom in these episodes. It doesn't really feel like the typical Stupid Mario anymore, and I liked the change of pace. Some of these first 9 episodes might be some of my favorite of the whole show. One that really stood out to me was the final Rock Band episode, where it's a documentary episode of how the band breaks up. Really clever stuff that's really funny, and I still remember it.
This is total bullcrap! We do parodies! Shouldn't there be a royalty waiver for making fun of something?
You probably can't tell, but I'm really pissed off. Mario finally let me back in the band, and now this.
Actually, I'm the one who let Wario back in the band.
There is a few annoying running jokes and one dumb plot point that doesn't make any sense, but other than that, I really enjoyed these 9 episodes. Kevin Chamberlain, a cast member of the channel who plays Yoshi, did his own videos talking about the series, and he covers this dumb plot point way better than I could, so I'll just show you the clip of him talking about how it doesn't work.
Don't worry about powers, just have fun! I'm having fun!
Okay, Mario. Your powers were never a burden to you like that of the Hulk, Superman, or the Thing, so how is it fun not to have them anymore? People would love to have superpowers, whether if it's strength, speed, or firepower, because there's all kinds of fun to have with them, even if they do come with a responsibility. Because as the old Spider-Man quote goes, with great power comes great responsibility. Mario doesn't have a secret identity like Spider-Man, so it's not like his powers were interfering with his personal life or keeping him from having fun. As a matter of fact, Mario and Luigi have had nothing but fun since the show began. They played video games, watched movies, played soccer, drove around on quads, started a rock band, exercised, camped out, slept till noon, danced in public more than once, played basketball, played Twister, rode on bicycles, went on a picnic, played football, and made a great music video. If that's not having fun, I don't know what is. And may I remind you all that this was before the events in Operation Blindstorm? So with all that said, I officially declare this dumbest line in Stupid Mario Brothers ever.
Notice how I keep saying the first 9 episodes though? Because for the first 9 episodes, that's basically what I said. It's a fun, goofy Nintendo sitcom, and after that they attempt to get back into this serious story while having these lengthy episode runtimes. They try to keep it 15 episodes a season, but the difference with the other seasons is that the episodes were much shorter and they weren't super long, so there's a lot of filler that you have to get through in these episodes, and there's tons of episodes where it feels like nothing happens, and the scenes aren't really interesting, and they're really boring. They're just like, a lot of them are just them training with Ryu from Street Fighter, and the humor doesn't hit either.
That's just enough time for a round of Mario Party! Who's with me?
I'm in.
Mario, are you ever going to take this seriously? I've been told to be funny when I'm being serious, and serious when I'm being funny.
So what'd you decide on?
I've decided to be seriously funny! Dana, that was not funny.
There's all these ninjas that come into this season, and then they come into the 5th season even more, and they're really annoying. I never found them funny. I never cared for Wario's new love interest either. The story just feels weightless, and the new villain, Blair Verstorm, isn't interesting at all. He's just really boring. The first 9 episodes for me were of course flawed, but it's Stupid Mario Bros. What do you expect? But after those episodes, it falls completely into mediocrity, and this continues into Season 5, which is in my opinion the worst season of the entire Stupid Mario Bros. Era.
I'll handle the beginning of this one.
It's kind of hard to say. So.
After a lot of reflection, discussion, and thinking about it, we decided it would be best if Season 5 was the final season of Stupid Mario Brothers.
In 2012, Richie announced that they were working hard on Season 5 of Stupid Mario Brothers, but he also made the announcement that it would be for sure the final season of the entire show, and it would conclude things while they move on to doing different things on the channel. Take this with a grain of salt though, because they did say the same thing when the movie was coming out. They said that would be the end, and we know how that turned out. Season 5 was meant to be the ultimate compilation of the Stupid Mario saga, and it was meant to be the greatest season we had ever seen. 14 of the episodes were around 10 minutes, and the final 15th episode was a bit over an entire hour. I remember when I watched their update video back in the day, I was so excited to see this ultimate season, but it was bittersweet because it was meant to be the end of a series that meant so much to me. The premise sounded really promising. Ganondorf, the villain from the Legend of Zelda series, had been mentioned throughout the duration of the show, but they never showed his face, and now we have him as the main villain of this season. Noxdecius, the Darkness, Bowser, Blair Verstorm, and Ganondorf all as villains for this one season against all of our heroes. It sounded incredible. Unfortunately for me and many of the fans, the season really dropped the ball on many fronts. The first episode is pretty good, I will say. There's some good scenes scattered throughout the entire season. The final episode was also pretty good despite some terrible moments. But overall, the season was a big old bleh. It felt like the last 6 episodes of Season 4 and Operation Blindstorm being stretched out for a super long period of time. The filler was horrible. Tons of episodes feel like they could be completely skipped, and there's so many scenes where nothing happens, and they're trying so hard to pad the runtime as much as possible. They even have this really annoying subplot with the character Zubashi, who is like a ninja character that's really annoying, and I never found him funny, and he goes on a date with some women. They have a subplot where he literally just goes on a date with women because they didn't know how to fill the runtime, and it was like, oh yeah, they're dating ninjas, it's hilarious. It's The whole subplot is supposed to be funny, but it's just flat out awkward and terrible, and it just feels so unnecessary.
So, what do you guys do?
We are ninjas.
Yeah, I can see that. Why?
We have been trained to be the best of the best.
The best at what?
The best at being ninja!
And why are you ninjas?
It is what we are.
Are you guys even Asian?
Good, got it, great, good.
The last episode, like I said, is over an entire hour, and the majority of the important plot points of the entire season are covered in that episode. So why didn't they take that time and disperse the important plot points throughout the season instead of filling it with pointless scene after pointless scene? The humor is almost completely cringe throughout the whole season as well. They literally have Mario go on a boring side adventure with Brock and Gary from Pokemon throughout most of the season. The main character goes on this boring side mission that nobody cares about. It's more like Luigi takes up the reins as the main character instead of him throughout most of the season, and it feels so often weird. Like, where is Mario during all of this important stuff? Characters from past seasons are made way worse, especially the Darkness, who does absolutely nothing throughout the entire season, and then later on joins sides with the good guys? Imagine the Joker from Batman sitting around and then giving up for no reason, and then joining Batman's side just because he feels like it. The Darkness pales in comparison to the scary character we saw in the stupid Mario Bros. Movie. The Darkness from that film would scoff at this new Darkness.
I suggest we put aside our differences right now for the common good.
Careful, Darkness. Your version of the common good might be a bit different from ours.
True, but I don't care. I think it's time we fulfilled what everyone was already expecting and team up. Do you feel that, hero of time? That is the feeling of defeat. You have failed your mission. Your life is a waste. How sad. So much for the savior of Hyrule.
And then there's also that army of ninjas that serves Ganondorf, and they're supposed to pose an end-of-the-world threat, but they're complete jokes that just make super unfunny jokes throughout the whole season. There's no fear or tension throughout all of it. It just feels like they're just playing around. There's no threat. In the stupid Mario Bros. Movie, there was a huge threat and you genuinely cared about the characters, but in this one, you're just like, everyone's gonna be fine. It's just a bunch of lame ninjas. There's even a huge exposition dump later in the show from Waluigi that tries to explain certain things that were mentioned earlier in the show, even though those were things that didn't need explaining, we could already put it in our heads, but Waluigi just has to do this whole conversation that makes those plot points even more complicated and confusing, and it raises way more questions than answers. There's an important arc that Wario goes through later on that could have been really great. He's one of the best characters of the show, but there's hardly any time dedicated to this arc, and it feels completely unwarranted and out of left field. This season feels like the newer SpongeBob episodes when compared to the classic ones. They captured lightning in a bottle with the older ones and then lost all sense of what worked about those older episodes. The final episode has a lot of cool scenes and moments, and it made me cry as a little kid, but the season as a whole was a colossal mess to the point where Richie himself has admitted that he made a lot of mistakes with this season, and he usually never admits that stuff.
In the same way, I always felt during Stupid Mario Brothers that 15 episodes was a little bit of a stretch for what we were doing, especially in the 4th and 5th seasons when people were like, come on, Richie. Like, there were several scenes, there were several scenes where it was just like Zubashi, like, talking about nonsense. People were like, well, we could have skipped that scene. And honestly, I could probably do the entire 5th season again in just 10 episodes, and it would have been a much better season.
The 5th season edit. The Rich Alvarez director's cut.
Maybe I'll even do that
shorter
someday.
instead of longer.
At least the last episode ended the show on a high note though, and the ending in the song and the final credits was really beautiful, and it made me cry as a little kid, like I said. It was a really fantastic ending, and I was happy to see what the channel would move on to next. Honestly, even at the time, I thought the show was better off ending where it did, before they milked the cash cow way too far and just over-milked this thing to where it's not special anymore. Oh, hi everyone. I really commend you all for getting through that entire video. Great job, but this is actually only part 1 of a 2-part video. Can you even believe it? It was so long that I had to split it into 2 parts. And hopefully you enjoyed this video, and yeah, it's not over yet though. It's gotta be more. Yay.